The Black Swan was born out of frustration, pure and simply. I'm an artist myself, and I moved to Western Australia, and it was through moving here that I discovered how difficult it is to enter prestigious competitions, particularly in the field of portraiture. And I talked to lots of artists and they all had the same problem. And I thought, well, here's an opportunity. We can either sit here and complain, or we can actually get off our butts, to put it nicely, and do something about it.
Good evening, everybody, and it's just delightful to see so many people here. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to the City of Perth and to the Town Hall.
I think it's amazing that Tina Wilson and Artrinsic have managed to create this big event in Western Australia in such a short time. I mean, it's quite amazing that in just, 4 years, they've been able to get this art prize off the ground, this Portraiture prize, so that it's known throughout Australia and attracts people from everywhere to enter it. And they've had a huge number of entries this year. And to realise that 4 years ago it didn't exist, it's quite staggering really, and I take my hat off to Tina and to the team. It's just amazing. I wish it had been around when I was a youngster.
I think that people underestimate the creative arts here in Western Australia, and part of the role that we can all play, is to actually bring this to people's attention. I think we've achieved a place in time where the stars are aligned in relation to people focusing on the arts. I think that people have seen sport, and if it's sort of up here, art and culture is down here, and I think people want to see art sort of come up in the spectre to be mainstream. And I certainly get that feedback whether I'm talking to the Federal Arts Minister, Simon Crean, or the Western Australian Minister for the Arts, John Day, and the 45 arts group that are in the Chamber for the Arts and Culture. Everybody wants us to get that sort of rating more equally aligned.
The City of Perth is extremely proud to be the presentation sponsor of the City of Perth Black Swan Art Prize, because it really highlights the fact that our city has so much to champion at this time in terms of celebrating the art and culture that we have here in our city. The latent talent and the energy that abounds in this city is actually exemplified through the portraits, and to think that many of the entries are actually locals is just such an overwhelmingly fantastic experience.
I certainly opened my eyes up to art, so if you can open my eyes up to art, you can open up for anyone.
What it really does is it unifies Australia. Australia's a big country, yet we're all the same from one end of the country to the other compared with other parts of the world. The arts, it's just so important to a nation as such. And what we're trying to do there, and what Perth obviously is trying to do, is to bring it into line with everybody else. Not that it isn't, but more so in the arts.
As a general issue, there's tremendous benefit to business to support the arts.
I've got to know Tina a bit more over the last 12 months, but she certainly is a very passionate person. To begin with, she's an artist, and so she understands the struggles of artists, but also she has some good commercial realism as well, and I think that's excellent in combining that in the art world, because too often artists don't necessarily have that commerciality, and they need that to be able to survive, and by bringing Tina in, combining with the artists, I think that makes art work.
It has been a far greater success than I expected, and I feel one must feel good about it because it is achieving the things that we set out to achieve.
People are starting to really appreciate that Perth's time has arrived. I think we will look back at this decade and realise that there was a lot to be proud of right now. All of a sudden, I think Perth is realising its own sense of self. We seem to see great development, but we're starting to be aware of the need to focus on the aesthetics of our city. At the same time, we're championing culture and the arts, and concurrently with that, we're focusing on being more sustainable and trying to be environmentally conscious.
Art and culture have become an intrinsic part of business, and creating opportunities not only for professional artists but for the youth of WA to define and find clear career paths within the art industry is a main objective of Artrinsic and myself. That is why we created the Youth Portrait Competition and also set up celebrity art workshops at the Princess Margaret Hospital.
To have a very defined path for these young artists to be exhibiting alongside professional artists, I think it sets forward very clearly for them a path, and they can see a direction and they can see the rewards that are potentially at the end of their hard work.
Absolutely important. It's fantastic. It gives these kids an opportunity to be rewarded and recognised for the work that they put in, creative work, which otherwise could just go under the radar, and it's not supported so much in schools. Like, there are still art programs and stuff like that, but it's not seen as a real and relative career choice.
I like to think of back a few years when Picasso painted a portrait of Gertrude Stein, and she said, "I don't look like that," and he said, "You will," meaning that she won't become to look like the portrait, but people will remember Gertrude Stein by Picasso's portrait.
I always liken it to a train. Like a person like me, I'm the person on the train, I'm driving the train because I totally follow my passion. But most people are walking beside the train and they're going, one day I'll be on that train, you know, one day I'll get on that train. But they won't. They're locked into this middle class reality. So art is kind of a hobby. And then they also got the Protestant work ethic, which they feel guilty if they're doing anything creative. It's the doing that creates the inspiration.
I think there's a fantastic air of positivity around the Black Swan now, and it just seems to be each year it gets bigger and bigger. We have more positive feedback, which makes our job a lot easier because people start approaching me, sponsors and people who want to actually help, because they can see what we're giving to Perth, what we're giving to Western Australia that hasn't been here before, you know, adding to the cultural community. So for myself and everyone around in Artrinsic, we're just feeling so good about this year because once again the standard of the work is much higher and we really are bringing in the best artworks from across Australia.
The City of Perth Black Swan Prize has now become a very prestigious and highly regarded national competition, attracting entries from the finest portrait artists across Australia.
I just hope it goes from strength to strength, and I can't see any reason why it wouldn't. They keep on getting more donations from different areas to make it bigger prize money, and it's all to the good. Wonderful.
Had I known in the beginning how much work it was going to be, maybe I wouldn't have done it. But I didn't know, and that's when it's wonderful to have a dream and have a vision and not actually take into account reality, because it allows things to happen. I think people need to be consulted. You know, if you are the community, you need to be part of it. If you don't want to be part of the community, you don't have to. You know, you can just opt out and stay away. But if you want to help Perth change, you've got to be part of that change.